Who were the first civilizations to set foot on our planet? Our history is written by the winners of power and influence over the years, but at some point, primal hunters became intellectual civilizations that produced monuments, calendars, and ancient literature. All this has evolved to the present day, and we are the descendants of some relatively intelligent beings. But what if it's not that simple? What if we look at some of the details and an entirely alternate history of the human race suddenly surfaces, one that completely overturns conventional knowledge and the history we've been taught? In this video, we will talk about shocking mysteries from our history. But before we start, make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for regular updates. Let's get started. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain huge chunks of the Book of Enoch, a mystery non-canonical religious scripture that human civilization had forgotten. It has 5 books: Watchers, Parables, Astronomical, Dream Visions, and the Epistles of Enoch. According to one of the earliest legends about Enoch, he founded astronomy and compiled it. They are said to have watched over humans at some unspecified and ancient time. The Watcher monitors those who watch those who are awake or asleep, and Zeus, Helios, Pan, and the goddess started the God's Ball on its slopes. These names indicate the ancient Watchers' human interaction. They stopped being Watchers and started having sexual relations with humans, primarily women, creating hybrids or crossbreeds. The Book of Enoch describes the Nephilim as giants and savages who threatened and plundered mankind, or as supernatural man-eating giants angered by Yahweh's wrath, resulting in half-angelic, half-human offspring. In his role as mediator, Enoch flies with angels and sees the rivers, mountains, and ends of the earth from above. But the gods decide that Enoch has been taken to heaven in a chariot of fire. The Israelites encountered an area inhabited by huge Nephilim that made them look like locusts. Of course, many things in the Bible were seen in modern times as allegorical, and this is more of a philosophical myth than a historical record, but there is archaeological evidence for one Nephilim. Many people say it is just fiction and there is no evidence, but what if there is? Marco Polo, a famous traveler and explorer, wrote of a race of giants. Norse legends, ancient Greek mythology is full of stories about giants. If giants really existed, as records from countless cultures suggest, then the Book of Enoch begins to look less metaphorical and allegorical, and more like a manuscript based on actual history. Semi-divine heroes were born from ancient myths about alliances between gods and mortals. Pindan, a poet and writer, compared historical heroes to gods and men. In modern philosophical occultism, Los Atlantis scientists produce human-animal hybrids as the slave race. Ancient myths, notably Babylonian ones, record such instances. The story of Noah and the flood in the Old Testament is said to have originated in the Babylonian and Sumerian myths. It is known that around 10,000 there appears to have been a catastrophic event that transformed early humanity. At the end of the last ice age, the first signs of agriculture appeared in the Middle East, with a shift from a nomadic hunter-gathered lifestyle to one of a settled agriculture. It is interesting to know that for centuries the Book of Enoch has been an important part of Christian and Jewish religious traditions. Many of these religious sects accepted the book as scripture. Furthermore, some even suggest the Book of Enoch was the inspiration for the Book of Genesis due to their many parallels and overlapping stories. Therefore, the question that arises is what has happened? Why the Book of Enoch is not part of the Bible, and why does this question sound so unimportant nowadays? To answer this question, we will go back to the early centuries after the physical death of Christ, far from the 39 canons of the Old Testament and the 27 New Testament, the books that we today know as the Bible. Originally, there were many Gospels and religious texts that made up the broad spectrum of the Christian tradition, but as Christians started spreading after Jesus' death, the growing Christian church gradually began to choose which texts would be read and followed and which would be considered divinely inspired. The church needed unity, and to create it, an official canon was needed. Let's not blame Dan Brown for the Council of Nicaea not sending the official Christian canon. In the 18th century, the famous philosopher Voltaire made a similar claim. Although the story is not factually accurate, it is accurate in the sense that the high-ranking members of the church are certainly there to choose what is included in the official biblical canon. They argue among themselves, portray their opponents as heretics, and almost certainly seek to expand their power. What kept Enoch going? Greeks, Egyptians, Babylonians, and ancient Sumerians may not have the answer. According to Sumerian texts, the earth was visited by a group of supernatural beings sometime in the distant past. These visitors are described in Sumerian tradition in a way that is eerily similar to the descriptions of the Watchers in the Book of Enoch instead of Watchers. However, the Sumerians called these beings Anunnaki, which literally means those who came from heavens. They were perceived as God to the Sumerians, and according to modern thinkers such as Zechariah Sitchin and Aaron Fondant, they are an ancient race of extraterrestrial beings which came to Earth. Interestingly, the Sumerian texts tell stories of the Anunnaki who, like the Watchers, began to interbreed with human beings. In this process, a hybrid race with entirely new species, known as the Nephilim, was created like the gods of the Book of Enoch. The Anunnaki were angered by the state of the earth and caused a great flood. Same story told in a slightly different way, as you well remember. And no, it's not the form that matters, but the content. Perhaps the Book of Enoch and other related traditions are simply retelling older Sumerian story of the Anunnaki, or perhaps the same story has been wrapped and reshaped all the way to the present. Humans transitioned from hunting and survival to farming and settlement around 10,000 BC, the Agrarian Revolution. Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, had the first city-states. Sumerians and Akkadians raised goats, sheep, and lentils. The Kurdish people claimed to be descendants of the children of the jinn, or spirits, a reference to the Anunnakis interbreeding with Enoch, who witnessed the wonders of lightning and thunder. Some believe this chapter exposes the mysteries of energy and electricity. Nikola Tesla advised, "Think energy, frequency, and vibration to discover the universe's secrets." It may be hard to believe that the Watchers, Anunnaki, and Nephilim giants, legends, and the Sumerians have been forgotten. The Book of Enoch, along with the Gospel of Mary and Thomas, also censored from the biblical canon. However, given the way these stories fundamentally change our understanding of human history by presenting a new or well-forgotten all perspective on who we really are, their exclusion is perhaps no surprise at all. But these stories have not been completely erased if we look at one of the most famous stories known to mankind, the one about Adam, Eve, and the Garden of Eden. If we read the text not literally nor philosophically, but as an allegory, metaphorically, God creates Adam to watch over the earth just as the gods and the Watchers do so in the Book of Enoch for Adam's rib. God created Eve, Adam, and Eve reproduced, representing the crossbreeding between the Watchers and human. Women Adam and Eve 4 said to be able to eat anything they wanted in the Garden of Eden, except kept for the fruit from the tree of knowledge. Because they have realized the snake force, or kundalini, which can be educated through interaction and non-reproductive sexual actions, they rush to hide their genitals. Reading the account of Adam and Eve, they sip from the tree of life, which begins the cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth, with human souls incarnating into bodily form. Perhaps those who wrote the story of Adam and Eve were simply retelling the stories in the Book of Enoch in their own way, retelling the Sumerian story of the Anunnaki like so many other religions and cultures, and inserting this important part of human history, allegorically, into their own religious canon. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to share and press the bell icon for more regular updates.